And we were sitting at breakfast, and he took a napkin, and he just wrote on that napkin, "Growth means change." And he handed it to me, and he said, "I just want you to know that if you're going to grow, you're going to have to keep changing." Now, he didn't say change means growth, because you can change and not grow at all. But he did say, if you're growing, you're going to always change.
Hey friends, Tom Henderson from RESGEN here, and I am so excited that you are joining me for another episode of the RESGEN Giving Life Podcast. And this one, I'm telling you, it is going to be one of your favorites, because this podcast is actually a conversation that I got to have with a gentleman in front of a live audience the night before RESGEN Men's Summit 2026. And who was the gentleman? His name is John C. Maxwell. That's right, the once-in-a-generation leader that has written over 90 books, sold over 40 million copies, and has just poured his life out into other people. And I was so excited to be able to have a conversation with him, both that night as well as hear him speak at the Men's Summit and interview him at that as well. But I thought, man, you know what? That conversation that we had on Friday night was far too good that we couldn't hold that conversation just for the people in the room. We wanted to be able to bring that conversation to you as well. So throughout this episode, you're going to hear John and I talk about faith, failure, leadership, mentorship, and so much more. So we're going to get right into it. I hope you enjoy this episode of the RESGEN Giving Life Podcast with my mentor and my friend, John C. Maxwell. All right, I hate breaking up. I hate breaking up conversation. One of the greatest joys of my life is seeing other people connect with other people, but I got to do it, okay? I just got to do it because I am so excited to be able to have a conversation with a gentleman that has had a tremendous amount of influence on many of you in this room, I know. And 3 years ago is actually when I met John for the very first time. And I want to share just a little bit about what that experience was like. I was invited to come and be a part of a group of 31 speakers, pastors, social media influencers, business entrepreneurs, very successful people. I was invited to go down there for a couple days and spend time with John Maxwell and his team, feeling very sheepish, feeling like I did not deserve to be in that room. And actually very, very nervous, felt out of place. And very early on in the experience, we were told, hey, we're going to actually move the time that we were going to have with John up to right here up at the front end. And you're going to get to spend 4 hours with John in a room. And what we're going to do is we're just going to allow you to ask him questions. And so as he comes into the room, all 31 of us are standing around this really long table. And John takes his time, and he walks in front of every single person. And I'll never forget, he walked in front of me, and I shaking my hand. He's looking me in the eyes as if I was the only person in the room. And he says, "Hi, my name is John, and I'm so honored that you would want to spend time with me." And I said, "I know who you are. And my name is Tom, and the honor is all mine." And for the last 3 years, about 3 times a year, I've been able to be in a gathering and have John pour into me and about 100 other individuals now from around the country. Many of them have flown in even just to be here to support what's happening tomorrow. We've built such a community and a family there, and that's what John's vision is just to pour into people so that we can continue to pour into people. And the reason that we're even in the Premier Center tomorrow is obviously God has blessed the growth, and it's His vision, and He's been leading this whole thing. But about 3 years ago, when I first met John, God began to speak to me about lifting the lid of what I thought was possible. And then 18 months ago, that was when God said, "Tom, it's time to take a big step, a step that you're not comfortable with, but there's some big things in store." And the influence that you've had on me, John, is tremendous. I can't thank you enough. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you in front of these people who are just my dearest friends. Please welcome to the stage John C. Maxwell. Yeah.
Great to be with you, Tom. Great to be with you.
Oh man, well this is really fun because when I talked with John about this idea, I said, what I want to do, John, is I just want to have a conversation with you. I want to have a conversation with you that I think is going to be very, very meaningful. And that's one of the things that RESGEN, that we just said, listen, if it's meaningful, it's memorable. And that it's memorable, that's going to lead to continued conversation. That's how transformation long-term happens, right? So, and these questions, a lot of them came from the people in this room. We solicited questions from the room because we wanted to be able to speak to things that they were wondering about and have you speak into those things. So are you ready to roll with this?
Yeah, I am ready to roll, and I'm grateful to be here with you. And I want you to know that I'm here because of Tom, because he's a terrific leader and he's doing a great work. And I pour my life into people who, add value to other people. And you're here and you're doing it, and I value you and honor you. And so thanks for what you're doing. Thanks for what you're doing here, and it's affecting people around the world, and thanks for letting me come and be with you. So let's make sure that we know Tom's the guy. We're here because of you.
Well, I think we should start with this question right here, John.
You don't know me well, Tom. You've got these glasses of water here.
Yeah, I did ask for bottles.
Just kidding. Well, I'm just clumsy.
Oh, yes.
And I promise you, before the session's over,
I'm going to be wearing it?
Well, you could be baptized by immersion. I would like sprinkling would work.
We can get a bottle. We can get a bottle up here.
Yeah,
no problem.
Trust me. This.
Yes.
Okay.
You're
I've
been
in
baptized already.
You're in danger right there. It's like Shamu. You know what I'm saying?
This is the splash zone.
Don't sit in the front rows. You're just going to splash. Anyway.
It's a splash zone. All right. So, John, and we'll get a water up here. So, okay. Before you were known as a leadership expert, and I know that you even hate that term expert, right? It's not something that you gravitate towards.
Well, I'm not one. Nobody's an expert.
Yeah. But okay, before you know for leadership, you were a pastor first.
Yeah.
And the question was, how has your walk with Jesus shaped everything you teach about leadership today?
Well, for 25 years I was a pastor and kind of thought I would be one all my life. What happened was I was writing books to help really pastors know how to lead better, because we're all theologues, which means the good news is we can get you to heaven. The bad news is we don't know what to do with you before you get there. And so I thought I'll teach pastors how to lead. And so my books really started selling really well, but I was surprised. And my publisher said in a meeting, he said, "We did a survey, John, and your books are being read by the business community." And I was totally surprised. I said, "You're kidding me." At that very moment, Tom, God said, "Crossover. I'm going to give you a platform with the business community." And so I did. And my relationship with Jesus is the reason I crossed over was to be able to tell the good news to people that won't come to church, and they're not going to be where the gospel is always presented. So I crossed over asking God to help me to know how to share my faith and how to help add value to people. And it's been an incredible 30-year journey now, and we've seen some amazing things happen in that journey, including the ability to share our faith kind of underground. People don't know anything about it, but I'm just pleased to say that in the last 6 years, we have seen through our organization 3.5 million people receive Christ. And so that's fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm getting ready to write a book now. I think I'm going to title the book "The Richest Man in Heaven." I don't particularly want to be a rich man on earth, but I think I'd like to be the richest guy in heaven. I think that there's something about that. So I wrote a book last year with Chris Hodges called Jesus, the High Road Leader. And it's the first time I've written a real overtly Christian book for quite some time. But if you read that book, Jesus, the High Road Leader, it's just, I think that he's our pattern, our model about how to value people, how to treat people, how to take care of people. So anyway, he's my best friend.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So John, personally, I've heard you speak, a lot, multiple times over the last several years, like I said, in a variety of different settings. And one of the things I always appreciate is how you honor the mentors that you've had in your life. And mentorship is huge.
Yeah.
Specifically, your dad.
Yeah, he was a great one.
And John Wooden.
Yeah.
And there's others. But so the question is, what are a few of the principles or lessons that they taught you that have stood the test of time and continue to be important to you today?
Well, first of all, if you have a mentor, and I hope all of you do, we need mentors. I still have mentors. I'm 79, and I still have people helping me. And so much of whatever success I've had has been because of men and women who have really invested in me and poured in me. But what I would say about mentoring is who mentors you is as important as what they say. So I think sometimes when we think of mentoring, we think, I'm going to get some information from this people, which is very, very good. But who the person is, there's something that's contagious about people like John Wooden, people like my father, that they taught me great principles, but they lived a great life. And there's something contagious about the life that just kind of changes you. And so, my father, so many times he would teach me when I grew up about, to whomsoever much is given, much will be required. And so there's a tremendous responsibility you have for the giftedness that you receive. And one of the things that he did is that I'm the middle child. I have an older brother and a younger sister. Is he paid us to read books, and that's how we got our allowance. And all my other friends, they got allowance for doing chores. And I thought, man, they're doing chores and they're making money. And so I went to my dad. I said, Dad, my friends are, get paid to do chores. I said, I think that's a good idea, don't you? He said, that's a terrible idea. I said, what do you mean? He said, why would I pay you to do chores? You do chores because you're part of the family. I'm not going to pay you to be part of the family. He said, let me explain it to you this way, son. By the time you were born, you already owed your mother for 9 months of room and board. So it's kind of like shut up and take out the garbage, you know what I mean? And then he said to me, why would I ever pay you money to take out the garbage unless I want you to grow up and be a garbage man? He said, I put my money where my values are. And my values are for you to read good books. And so he would pick the books out. And he would pay us whatever the book cost is what we would receive. And every night at the dinner table, we talked about the books that we were reading. So, when I was in the 7th grade, I read How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I Think and Grow Rich. I could just, dozens and dozens of books that I read that just absolutely changed my life. My brother would say the same. My sister would say the same. So by the time I graduated from high school, I wasn't the smartest kid in the class, but I was way ahead of the class. Because all those years, I was reading great books and learning great principles. And I promise you, my children, we paid our kids allowance to read the books, and we did that now. We've done that now with our grandchildren. I just received a text today from Madeline, who's our oldest grandchild. She's 25. And her text basically said, Papa, thank you for all the teachings you've given me about leadership. In fact, as the grandchildren were growing up, as I would give them things to read, I would tell them, if you read something that's really a good principle, send it back to me, and I'll look at what you read. And if it's really good, it'll go on the Papa list. They call me Papa. They call Margaret Mimi. Margaret picked out the name. Before Madeline was born, she looked at me and said, "Well, the grandchildren are going to call us." I said, "I have no idea." And she said, "Well, I want them to call me Mimi." And I said, well, "I like that." She said, but I don't want them to call you. I don't want them to call you Pee-Pee. I said, "Well, yeah." I said, "Yeah, I agree with that too." So they called me Papa, and I would hear the grandchildren all the time talking about how many of their quotes had made the Papa list. And I just would say to you, the mentoring is so important for your own children, your own grandchildren. When I write a book, like I wrote a book last year called High Road Leadership, and then I sit down with my grandchildren and we go through the book and we talk about it. And so mentor your children, mentor your grandchildren. It's just, mentoring has changed my life. And I try to do that, for other people too. And I just think it's essential. So I've been really blessed. John Wooden was incredible. He was, I don't know if I have time to tell a funny story.
I think you do.
Well, so I'm going to get to meet him. And I have what I call every month, I've done this for over 40 years, what I call learning lunches. You can do this. This will work for you. It's a great personal growth tool where I take somebody to lunch and I ask them for 90 minutes. I pay for the lunch, but I want to learn from them, and I have 7 questions that I ask them. I've done this for all these years. And I happen to be in Orlando, and I was having a lunch having one of those lunches, and one of the 7 questions I ask is, "Who do you know that I should know?" And he told me, he said, "Well, I know John Wooden." I said, "Oh my gosh, I'd love to know him." He said, "Well, I can arrange that," and he did. So I had about a 3-month prep time, and so he had written at that time 5 books, so I got all of his books and read them, and I started writing questions on a legal pad. He also did the Pyramid of Success, and I memorized that so that when I got with him, and he said he would see me for breakfast for 90 minutes at the place where he had breakfast every morning. So I flew all the way to Los Angeles, but I was really ready for it. I was really prepared. And I had 5 pages, legal pages, 123 questions for a 90-minute lunch. And so we went to lunch, and we did the small talk for about 10 minutes, and I'm sitting over thinking, I'd like to get rid of the small talk real quick, if you don't mind. I got some big talk here. And so he looked at me. He said, "Do you have a question for me?" I said, "Well, Coach, I do." I said, in fact, I said, I've got it on my legal book. Do I mind if I pull it out? I said, "Well, sure." So I'm sorry, I don't have a cold. I just got back, Margaret and I, and then 8 of our friends, we just got back from Egypt, and so I've been down the Nile with all the mummies, dear God. I mean, the first mummy I saw it was like 4,000 years old, so I took a picture of a 4,000-year-old mummy, and I thought, okay. And then we went to another place, and it was like 4,500 years, and I thought, well, a little older, so I took that picture. I mean, how many pictures do you have to take of mummies? I mean, I'm so happy somebody said, "Are you glad to be here?" I said, "I'm delighted to be here. I'm with live people. This is huge. I've been with dead people for 2 weeks. I mean, they don't even talk back to you. You know what I'm saying?" So anyway, I don't even know. Oh, that's why I have this little cough. I've been in need. Anyway. So so I put the legal pad, Tom, in front of him.
Yeah.
And so he looks at the legal pad, and of course the first page it's full of questions. And he looked down and he said, "Oh my," he said, "Are these questions all for me?" Well, I said, "Yeah." I said, "They are." I said, "But Coach, they're not all the questions." He said, "Well, what do you mean?" So literally, it's right in front of him. So I do it. I take it for a little drama here, and I pull the first page back, and the second page is full. Third page, fourth page, 5 pages. And he sits back in his seat. He says, nobody has ever brought that many questions to me. Because I only had one goal that day when I met him, and that is to develop a relationship with him. And I thought the only way I can do that is to show him how hungry I am to learn from him. And so he said, we better get started. So in our 90-minute meal, I got through 3 questions. 3 questions. And he looked at me, he said, John, he said, look, we didn't get all. He said, do you have any more time today? Well, yeah, I think I can work it in. We went over to his little condo, and well, let's put it this way, at 4:30 in the afternoon, we're done with page 1. He said, John, what are we going to do? He said, you got 4 more pages of questions. He said, would you mind coming back again and we could do some more questions? And I came back again and again and again and again and again and again for 14 years. And the last thing he did before he passed away was I wrote a book called Sometimes You Win, Sometimes You Learn. And he loved the book. I got the book idea from him in one of our mentoring sessions. And he asked if he could do the foreword for it. I said, oh, Coach, I would never ask you to do that. He said, no, I won't do that. So the last thing he did before he passed away is he wrote the foreword for Sometimes You Win, Sometimes You Learn. But it was a great lesson that I hope we all learn, and that is that what I wanted, I didn't want his autograph, I didn't want his picture. I just thought, wouldn't it be wonderful if I could develop a relationship with me? And I did, and he taught me. And I think in mentoring, Tom, what I look for when I mentor somebody is I want them to be hungry. I want them to really have a desire to learn and grow and improve their life. You can't give people the desire. They have to have it themselves. But once I see, like you, I mean, you're in the high capacity learning round table that we have, and desire, you have a heart to learn. You have a passion to learn. And desire is the first step to great achievement. No one can achieve anything great without desire. And so it was just a beautiful time, and he was a beautiful friend, and I learned so many things. I mean, he taught me that, you know, it's what you learn after you know it all that counts. You know, that when opportunity comes, it's too late to prepare. And I mean, I could for the next 2 hours just teach you things that he taught me. He taught me those principles, but Tom, what's important was he lived those principles.
Yeah, for sure.
And what I took away was he was an effective mentor, not because of what he knew, but he was an effective mentor because of how he lived. And so it's one thing for me to know stuff, and it's another thing for me to be that person and be authentic and be real. And he was a beautiful man.
So good, John. So good. Thank you for sharing. So good. Which it's actually a good segue into this next question here, John. As people, we tend to love our comfort zones, whether that be in our faith, business, or even our relational lives. Change, and are happy with it to help those of us who struggle, who resist change, and are happy with the status quo, or who have to lead people that fall into that camp. So kind of, it's probably a little two-parter there, but you know, resisting change and then trying to lead people that do.
I had another mentor. I remember having breakfast with him in Pasadena. Olin Hendricks was his name. I would have been at that time maybe 31, 32. And we were sitting at breakfast, and he took a napkin, and he just wrote on that napkin, growth means change. And he handed it to me, and he said, I just want you to know that if you're going to grow, you're going to have to keep changing. Now, he didn't say change means growth, because you can change and not grow at all. But he did say, if you're growing, you're going to always change. That was a life-changing mentoring for me, because what I learned from that is that if you're successful, you don't go to the next job or you don't go to the next level. You want to grow to the next level. If you grow to that next level, you're prepared for it, even though it's something maybe brand new for you. And so comfort zones, we all have comfort zones. We all love to kind of settle. I did a lot of COVID. Of course, that got everybody out of their comfort zone. I did a lot of virtuals for companies during COVID. I would just go to the studio. In fact, Andrew's here with me. Andrew's studio, in fact, 2 days ago, I went in the studio and I did 8 different teachings for different companies and organizations. I started at 8 o'clock and I think I left the studio at 5:30. But I during COVID, I tried to help people understand that this is very difficult for everybody, and we're out of our comfort zone. And in fact, we have 7 companies, and our people during COVID would say, well, how long is this going to last? And, I don't know how long it's going to last. But what I would tell them is, I don't know how long it's going to last, but I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be with you through the whole process. I'm not going anywhere. The values we have, we're not changing those values. It's who we are. But it was during COVID that I did a lesson on comfort zones and how, what happened is COVID made everybody get out of automatic. Because people live automatic. They got routines and habits. And what COVID did is COVID just shook us up and got everybody out of automatic. And in that one, I remember doing a lesson, and basically the thesis of the lesson, Tom, was this. Everything you want, but you don't have it, or everything that you need, but you don't have it. In other words, you'd like to have it, or you want it, but you don't have it. Everything that you want or everything that you need, there's a reason you don't have it. It's outside of your comfort zone. And the only way that you're going to have those things that you need in your life is you got to go jump the fence. And the moment that we understand that what's best for us isn't convenient, everything worthwhile, it's uphill. It's uphill. Margaret and I have been married for 57 years. A long marriage. It's uphill. We didn't get lucky. It's uphill. There's a whole bunch of stuff you got to work through. Everything worthwhile. If you're building a business, it's all uphill. It's all uphill. It's all out of our comfort zone. And the problem is this, Tom. This is the problem right here. Right here. We have uphill hopes, but we have downhill habits. And you can't go uphill with downhill habits. Impossible. Don't try it. Downhill habits will never let you go uphill. And there are several downhill habits, but one of the downhill habits that people have is the comfort zone. They say, oh my gosh, all I really want to do is be comfortable. Downhill habits like, I want it and I want it now. And so I watch people with downhill habits, and I just say, my name's John, I'm your friend. This won't get you this. If you ever hear a successful person being interviewed and they ask them, how did you get to the top of the mountain? The successful person doesn't look at the interviewer and say, oh my gosh, look where I am. I had no idea. I just woke up and here I am. That person's not a success. They're on drugs. Can I tell you something? If you're at the top of the hill, you know exactly how you got there. You paid for it. Every step of the way. You and I have never read a book entitled Accidental Accomplishments. So when I see people in a comfort zone, I said, the good news is you're comfortable. But the bad news is you cannot reach your potential in a comfort zone. Nobody has before you, nobody will be coming behind you if you're in your comfort zone and you're settled. If you're not stretching, if you're not growing, if you're not learning. I mean, I'm 79. I'm still learning, I'm still growing. There's no expert at all in me. People tell me I'm the leadership expert. I'm not, because for the last few years, I've been voted the #1 leadership expert in the world, and I say I'm not an expert. Every time I say I'm not an expert. I love leadership, but I'm not an expert. And here's the way this works. The more you know you don't know. And the more you know you don't know, the more you know you need to know. There's no expert to it. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I'm still asking questions. I'm still being mentored. I'm still hungry. And I'm going to stretch. People say, well, when are you going to retire? I said, I'm not going to retire. Now, I'm not against retirement, so don't get mad at me. I know people who retire before they get retirement age. I know people who have retired, and it's like a guy the other day said, I think I'm burned out. And I said, I've known him for 20 years. I said, I don't think so. He said, what do you mean? I said, to get burned out, you have to be on fire. You've never been on fire. How could you be burned out? So people say, well, when are you going to retire, John? I said, I'm not going to retire. And then sometimes they feel sorry for me. They say, well, can you afford it? Yeah. I said, I've sold 40 million books. Do the math. It's not complicated. Yeah, I can afford it. I'm okay. I'm okay. Then they'll look at it and say, well, then why aren't you retired? Because I'm doing what I love. Somebody told me the other day that retirement is doing what you want to do when you want to do it. Then I said, I'm retired. Quit. Why is it that average people want you to stay average? So today's my birthday. I'm 79. And I'm here. And I got to quickly meet all of you before the dinner or during the dinner. And I'm here, and I want, and somebody said, well, you're here, it's your birthday. And I live in Florida. In fact, at 10 o'clock this morning, I was swimming in my pool. I live on a golf course, lived on the 16th fairway. I could have played golf today. I like to play golf. I'm not very good at it, but I like to play. In fact, the other day I was playing golf, Tom, and a guy kind of encouraged me. He said, I've been watching you for a few holes. And he said, I see only one problem with your golf game. And I kind of got excited. I thought, well, shoot. If there's only one problem, I can fix that. I wonder what it is. And so I asked him. He said, you're too close to your golf ball after you hit it. I love that, don't you? I can't fix that. That's a lack of talent. But I like to play golf. But can I tell you something? There's got to be something bigger in your life than getting up in the morning and asking, what time do I tee off? If that's all you're living for, my dear friend, you haven't found significance in your life. I know a lot of successful people. They're successful, but they're unhappy. A lot of unhappy, successful people. Because it's all about them. It's all about their stuff. But when you can go from success to significance, you see, significance is all about others. I'm here because I want to be with you. I want to add value to you. I want to pour into you. I want to be your friend. When you live a significant life, it's not about me anymore. It's all about you. And I've met a lot of unhappy, successful people, but I have never met an unhappy person that lived with significance. I live a significant life. Every day I get up and I ask myself a simple question. Who can I add value to today? How do I add value to them? When will I add value to them? That's why I got on a plane and came up to see you. And when I'm done tomorrow, I'll get on my plane and I'll go to Boise, Idaho. And I'll sit down with 8 billionaires in a room next year. And they ask me one question. And for the next year, I'll teach them how to do this. The question they're asking, they're billionaires. The question they're asking, how can I go from success to significance? Because the moment you start the moment you start living a significant life, which is about adding value intentionally to other people, the moment you live a significant life, trust me, you'll never be satisfied with success again. I have the largest coaching company in the world. And we go to countries and we do transformation, invited by the presidents of the countries. I mean, we don't even go into the country until we're in 7 countries now. We have 29 presidents who have officially asked us, come into the country, teach values in small groups. And so we have 60,000 coaches in 170 countries of the world. And so we bring our coaches into these countries. And they're going to spend 6 days teaching small group leaders, facilitators, how to do values training in small group. When they leave that country, the next week, over 100,000 people in that country will be in small groups learning good values. And so I get my coaches together, 250, 300 of them, and I spend the evening with them. And what I teach them is this. You paid your own way to get here. You're going to work hard for the next 6 days. I know you're giving. I know that. I know you're giving. I got that. But I said, you're going to find something that's going to happen that's magical. In 6 days, you're going to get back on the plane. And you're going to sit back in your chair. And you're going to be tired. But you're going to be fulfilled. Because you've given your life and your time and your energy and your effort and your mind to making things better for other people. And that's a fact. I live to add value to people. End of story. And I've decided I think I'll live until I die. And I'm not going to get the two confused. Because a whole bunch of people, they have empty, meaningless lives because they've never decided to get over themselves and give themselves to others. I didn't have to come to your table tonight and say hi to you. I could have stayed in the green room. In fact, Tom offered me. He said, I'll bring you food in the green room. I said, no, I want to go out and see the people. I want to meet the people. And I'm going to have to tell you, you're very privileged. This room's full of a lot of incredible people. I promise you, when you go to heaven, you're going to want to come home on the weekends. Well, maybe not in the winter. But 9 months a year, you're going to have to. And I wanted to meet you. My name's John. I want to be your friend. Life's very simple for me. Every day, I think about adding value to people. I'm sorry. I think I'm doing too much teaching.
No, I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. We have a lot of cards, though. We're going to have a lot more of these sessions, you and I, John. I mean, that's what's happening right now.
You know, Tom, we didn't get through all these questions. We may have to have another meeting.
We will. I think we will.
I think you know my story too well.
Well, John, sitting here at this table, actually, is your newest book called How to Get a Return on Failure.
Yeah.
And I'd love for you to just share for a moment a failure from your life that you're actually grateful for now and how it shaped you as a leader and just your life from that failure.
Well, first of all, I just saw in fact, when I went in the studio yesterday at Andrews to do the 8 teachings I was going to do all day, the book was there. I've never seen the book until yesterday. That's How to Receive a Return on Failure. But it's not my first failure book. I've written 92 books, okay? And this is not my first failure book. I wrote a book about 20 years ago called Failing Forward. very successful, sold well over 1 million copies. And then I wrote a second book on Sometimes You Win, Sometimes You Learn. That's the one that John Wooden did the forward. So this is my third failure book, and I just want you to know that I'm just good at failure. I think it's a spiritual gift, really. Can I tell the story?
I'd love it. I want to hear it.
Well, shoot. Okay. Do I have time to tell a story?
Yeah,
okay. So let me tell you about my first failure book. Margaret and I are going to go on a cruise to see the fjords of Norway. And about 2 weeks before the cruise, I'm looking at my calendar and I realize it's a 2-week cruise to see the fjords of Norway. I thought, seems a little long to me. 2 weeks. I'm a person of faith, and I think God created the heavens and earth in 6 days. 6 days. He did the whole deal. And we're going to spend 2 weeks seeing the fjords of Norway. So Mark and I sat down, we talked about it. And, and then after we talked about it, we went on this incredible 2-week cruise. Anybody that doesn't believe in compromise has never stayed married very long. So we did a deal, and I said, all right, we'll do the 2-week cruise to see the fjords of Norway if you'll let me write a book so I can get something done between fjords. So I write with it, literally, I write with a 4-color Bic pen. I write by hand on a legal pad. I don't use a computer at all. So I took up like 6 legal pads and 3 or 4 color pens, and we had a suite right on the front of the ship with all glass. It was wonderful. And I had a table like this, and I got my 4-color pen, I got my legal pad, and I start writing the book, Failing Forward. And so I'm just writing away, and every once in a while the ship would stop, and the captain would say, to your left is a fjord, and when he'd say that, I'd stop writing. That's a fjord right there. We'd go another 30 minutes. We'd stop again. The captain would say, to your right is a fjord. I'd stop writing, and I'd look over there, and sure enough, that's a fjord. Yeah. Amazing, isn't it? Incredible. I said, baby, that fjord looks just like that fjord. You're a wise man. 2-week cruise is over. The book is written. I mean, she's got my 5 legal pads all tied up in a rubber band now, and that's my manuscript for the publisher. And we're going off of the ship, and we're about halfway off the ship. She stops, she turns around, she said, John, I just want to say something. I love the book. I said, thank you. So what do you love about it? Oh, she said, John, you're so honest and open about your life, and about every page you talk about another failure, about something that you did that was stupid. And the reader's going to read that, and they're just going to be encouraged. They're going to say, oh my gosh, look, he's kind of successful. Look at all the failures he's had in life. And I said, well, thank you. She said, there's only one problem. I said, well, what is it? She said, you didn't get all your failures in the book. And then she said, I see a series coming on. Failure 101, 201, 301. She said, you got a bunch of failure books. So we're both laughing. I brought this home after being in the studio all day. I said, well, Mark, remember when you said I was going to do a series of books on failure? This is number 3. And I have a feeling it's not done. In this book, I'm going to teach you things you never heard anybody else teach. I promise you. And you never read anywhere. For example, I'm going to teach you in this book that failure and success should always be kept together and never separated. But our culture separates them. Our culture says, succeed, don't fail, do it right, don't mess it up. That's so wrong. First of all, that's not the way your life is lived. It's not the way my life is lived. I don't have 4 days a week where I have successes, and then I have 2 days where I have a bunch of failures. Every day I have some hits, I have some misses, I have some wins, I have some losses. Every day some good things happen, some bad things. And you see, life keeps success and failure together, yet we separate it. And the problem is, the moment we separate them, Tom, they lose their effectiveness. When you put success and failure together, they help each other. Listen to what I'm about to say. Let's say I'm succeeding really well. I'm just doing good. I need to keep failure real close to that success. Because if I keep my failure by my successes, it'll teach me humility. And humility is the most important quality in a person's life. Because when you're humbled, you're teachable. You remove failure from success and you become arrogant. Bill Gates said success is a lousy teacher. It makes people think they can't lose. He's right. Why do they think that? Because success doesn't have failure close enough to it. So when I'm succeeding, if I keep my failure close to me, I stay humble. If I'm failing and I'm over in the ditch, I got to keep success right beside that failure. Why? Just as failure helps success have humility, success by failure gives failure resiliency. I can get out of the ditch. And when we put them together, they even life out. And our successes aren't that high, and our failures aren't that low. What makes them stay even? You kept them together. Separate them, isolate them, failure becomes worse than it can be. Success becomes unbearable to other people. You got to keep them together. I have a whole chapter, good miss, on that. I have a chapter in this book on the difference between a good miss and a bad miss, because they're not created equal. And most people don't know the difference between a good miss and a bad miss. So when they have a miss, they just think it's bad. A lot of my misses in life have been assets to me once I understood there's a difference between a good miss and a bad miss. Going to your question, you're saying, John, in your failures, what have you learned? Well, it's very simple. Let me explain. Let me give you a good miss and let me give you a bad miss from a failure. If I have a good miss when I have failed, what I do is I make adjustments. In other words, I say, oh, I didn't do that right, so I got to start adjusting. What do I need to change? And I make some adjustments. If you make adjustments out of a failure, it's a good miss. Let me give you a bad miss. When you make excuses, that's a bad miss. My name's John, I'm your friend. It's impossible to go from excuses to success. Can't happen. You can go from adjustments to success, but you can't go. And the moment and you know what the worst excuse you and I can have? The worst excuse that we can have is a good excuse, because we believe it. It's so good. We use it all the time. Because it sounds reasonable. And so a good miss becomes a bad miss because we didn't know the difference between the two of them. So I'm just very excited about the book because it's a great mentoring book. And I'm just going to say this again as a parent. You got a kid in junior high? Pay him to read this book. And sit down and when you have dinner, Do something worthwhile. Talk about the principles in the book. You'll be amazed at what your kids pick up. My brother, by the time I graduated from college, was already a millionaire. My sister, one time she was 27, was running the floor of a hospital. By the time I was 28, I had the 10th largest church in America. It's not an accident. We're not more smart than any of the kids. My father said, I'll pick out the books. You read them, I'll pay you. We'll talk about them. Not because I'm just separated me from my peers. Not because I'm smarter, but because my father was a wise dad and he understood. Get them reading good stuff. Talk about it, practice it, and it's just totally life-changing. And so the book, it's I just saw it, and I don't know how to tell you how to get it, which is a bad miss. Just shows you how stupid I am. That's going to go in my fourth failure book, Tom.
Yeah,
I don't know, Mark really runs everything. He's the boss anymore. He owns the company, and he was my CEO for 20 years. And how did it get?
ReturnOnFailureBook.com.
Return?
On failure book.
Okay, write this down. It's obvious I didn't. ReturnOnFailureBook.com. ReturnOnFailureBook.com. If you'll order it, then you'll get the book. Okay. Oh my gosh! Everybody right now is wondering how I ever became successful. I wonder that every day. I really do, and I hate it, but I know how I became successful. I had a lady come up to me the other day and said, "John, I know why you're successful." I said, Why is that? She said, "You're very successful helping people become very successful." I said, "You're right. I'm good at that. I'm good at helping you. Just read my books. They'll make a difference in your life. But give them to your kids." Wow. What we found out about students is this. The more secure they are on the inside, the less validation they need on the outside. Mm-hmm. That's your big problem with social media. Kids are seeking validation on the outside. The more insecure, I want more validation. The more secure, I don't need that validation. And again, just hope you enjoy the book, and I hope you get it for your kids and family. It's good stuff. It'll help.
So good, so good. Well, John, thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to our future sessions together. So, this has been a delight. And have you appreciated what John has brought to the table tonight? Just so grateful, John. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm disappointed.
And you didn't spill.
I didn't spill it.
You didn't spill. I'm not disappointed.
It just frustrates me to be that perfect.
Yeah. And as John mentioned, it is John's birthday today. And if that doesn't show you again just the focus of his life, that he's willing to give up Florida, to come to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, to be a part of a night like tonight, to be a part of a day like tomorrow, that we're going to fill the Premier Center with men, to come and pour his life out to others. And so in a second, we're going to sing happy birthday to you, John.
Okay.
Just because I think that's going to be fun.
But I'm here because of what you're doing and your leadership, and you live this significant life, Tom. You live the life I'm talking about. You do. And I'm here for you. I mean, when I realized and discovered what you did, I said, yes, you inspire me and what help you and add value to you. But I just want you to know you inspire me in what you're doing here and what you're doing with men and helping them. And I just, if I can just add a little value to you, to what you're doing, then that makes everything worthwhile, doesn't it? Huh?
Thank you. Thank you. Well, there you have it. A great episode of the RESGEN Giving Life Podcast with John C. Maxwell. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you took away some nuggets that you can apply to your life. I'm sure that maybe one of them is any of you that are parents, you're wondering, man, should we pay our kids for reading books or whatever? But I hope that you take that conversation, share it with others. You know, at the end of the day, we don't want to keep wisdom like this just for ourselves. We want to share with others. So be sure to share this episode with others, rate and review the podcast, all those kinds of things. And know that we'll be right back here with another episode of the RESGEN Giving Life Podcast real soon. Until then, continue being men whose life in Christ gives life to others. We'll see you soon.